Oh, hello, everybody. I can't do a red pin. I can't do a red pin with the red shirt. It's too much red. Go with the broken. We'll go with the broken blue one. All right, I'm back. It's been a whole week, I guess, ish. It depends on how you count it. I'm back, and this week I've read what is this? A Wizard of Earthsea by Ursula K. LeGuin. Um, I have I had I'd heard of this author's name somewhere. I think it was on our Sword and Laser from Ye Old Sword and Laser podcast that I heard about the name. It sort of stuck in my head. So when I saw the book was on Ye Old Kindle Unlimited, I said, give it a go. I know nothing else about it. I think there's other books in the series. Hold on, I'm messing with something. I think there are other books in the series, but I haven't read them. I don't know anything about them. I think this is also my first Ursula K. Le Guin book. So, what what did I think about? Well, I didn't think it was great. I did not think it was great. I think it's a 2 out of 5. I think if you're very desperate for some fantasy and you just got to have some, I guess this works. It's more magic than fantasy, I would say. It's not that great. I guess the writing is fine. It just comes into cross sections with itself. So it doesn't hold itself up well enough. This is also a very thin book. It's not a large book, but I do not hold that against it. And if you are a reader out there and you think to yourself, I'm not a real reader. I'm a casual because I only read thin books. Don't put yourself down so quick. Alice in Wonderland, not that thick, right? It's a classic. No one has problems with it. So, hold your head up. What you read matters. It's worthy. Unless, unless I say it sucks, and then it sucks. No way around it. Okay, so what is happening here? It hits the ground running decent enough. She starts telling of an Isle of Gaunt. What is it? It says the Isle of Gaunt, the Northeast Sea, the Lords of Archipelago. Now, if you read fantasy, you know what this is, right? We're trying to establish sort of a lore, a history, trying to flesh out that world. I don't have a problem with this. It works. She also does a thing where, and it's kind of tricky, and mad credit for this. She sort of bends the language just enough, right? So it's not Shakespearean. It's not full on Old English, this kind of ye and thou and this, right? But it's not you and me talking. It's not modern in any way. I'm going to flavor it in just a little bit. So it carries an old timey feel without the strain, so to speak. So, I like that. But the skill it takes to do that sort of hampers the rest. Let me explain. It's like if you made the rest of the book or the statue perfect or really really well, then the things that aren't well, show up more. If I work real hard to iron out, smooth out a shirt, I leave one wrinkle, it stands out more than just a wrinkly shirt. Right? Because I put this effort in. The effort shows you did this much. You're aware of problems. Then why don't you finish it off? Right? This is the problem that this book sort of has. It's too good for the errors that it makes, and so they stand out. in relief of that skill more than they should, or they would. If you tone down the language a little, maybe, or you just sort of bump up the consistency, then I wouldn't have had the problems that I have. Now, I know it's called the Wizard of Earthsea, right? And at the beginning, I get a sense that we're on an island, the island of Gaunt, but it doesn't speak like an island, if that makes sense. And that wouldn't be a problem per se. I feel like you got to pick, right? Like if you're thinking Ireland or Britain, these are big enough. They are technically islands, but they're big enough that you can live completely away from the ocean, right? And in my mind, I was thinking of this island kind of like that because we talk about mountains and forests and this kind of thing. But then later on, it writes in that his island only 55 miles wide. Now that's not that big. It's not that big at all. I think if you had some kind of a peak from the top of said peak, you would be able to see the water on all sides, right? I mean, maybe not. Maybe I don't know. 55 miles isn't that big. It's a good walkable distance, right? And especially for the types of people, we don't. It's not steampunk. They don't have technology. They don't have cars. It's a walking type of people. I guess if you had horses, you could get across faster. It's not that big, right? And then so I started thinking, it can't act like England at that size. And she kind of wants it both ways. I want to make them sort of land-faring people. But any peoples that are that close to the water are a nautical people, right? Even if you don't go out into that water. Let's say you're just a farmer, right? Like the people of Nantucket or something. I should have looked up how big Nantucket is. I don't know. If you're from a small island and the water's never that far away, then it imbues itself into your life. Farming is for trips on these boats. You eat fish from the sea. You make ropes and tackle and canvas. Money is got from the sea. Trade, right? Everything in town starts to slant itself towards this. It's sort of the same with New York, where the artery of New York was the sort of the harbor, and it sort of grew up like that. That's why it branches out the way it does. Can't escape the benefits, the dangers. Storms come off of the water. It's this thing, it's this element in your life. And it overpowers the land element by a good ways. Again, I get, you want to establish your own sort of society. But some of the society is based off of these natural interactions. The people of Peru and Ecuador, who live way up in those mountains, act different than the people below. Wars never got up to them, or if they did, they handled them a long time ago. It's a hard trek up. No one goes up there. You're just left alone. Mongolia. Not the Mongols. When they came out of Mongolia, it was a problem. But in Mongolia, you go there now, and it's probably the same as it was 700 years ago. Not much different. There's a car here, but there's still that horse. There's still falconers and all this, right? It's remote. The terrain difference starts to affect the people. She wants it both ways. She wants not to have that effect, to have new, unique people unaffected by the sea. But then she introduces later on sea people that are all the effects of the sea. And I'm like, it starts to cross itself, like I said. Sort of the downfall of the book. In any case, our hero is Ged. She describes him, page 1 now, as becoming one of the greatest wizards ever. Archmage, all this mess. I already know magic. We build him early on as a natural. He overhears some words and now he can speak incantations. He doesn't have this sort of fear. He's out in the wild a lot. No problem with any of that. I really don't have a problem with any of it. I actually like it. When you pair that with the sort of the style of her writing, where she makes it, what is it? She weathers it, I would say is a good way to say it. It's good at weathered, old, ancient stylish speech. In the way they talk and in the way our narrator is delivering the rest of the information to us. It's consistent. And so, when you think back, and you'll think back like Charlemagne or Romulus, right? They always have these type of origins. You know, at 8 they would explore the woods, but they always finished their chores first. They didn't neglect the farm. You know, he caught a snake with his hand and saved his brother. This kind of thing. They're always like winners from the very beginning. Right? It's why Charlemagne's fun. And this is giving me that same feel. I was enjoying it, right? But then later on, he gets into an issue and it just shatters that. And it to me it shatters the whole of the build-up of our character. Again, mismatch. We get introduced to our magic system. I like this magic system. I really do. It uses, what is it, names, I think. You know the true name of a thing, and you'll be able to have some power over it. And remembering names, being able to speak them in a certain way, is the magic. And that's where magic happens. I love that system, the idea of it. You will have like a local witch lady who knows a few words, who may make herbs more potent. That's how she heals. But a full-on mage can do, mage stuff, wizard stuff. I keep saying mage. I mean wizard. But that's what I mean. I know they're closely related. At one point, there are the Hun, as our Winston Churchill would say, sort of raiders from the sea. Hold on, one second. Where was I? Right, the Hun. I like that as an expression where any invader, you just call them Huns. So I like it. Anyway, the Huns come. It doesn't call them Huns in the book. It's a different kind of lore-specific name. I just don't remember it. The Hun is coming and they're going to kill all the town. Well, your boy Ged concocts a fog. He puts the town under a whole fog because they know the terrain. They can run around and they run in and out of these bandits. And they stab them and they drive them out. He saves the day by holding this fog up all day. Then he falls out. He passes out. And I'm like, I guess this is all right. But I feel like I wouldn't have gone to the well so many times. I swear he passes out like 9 times in this book. Every time he does one half thing, he's just asleep. Your boy, here's your hero, your Ged, just sleep. No one can wake him up. I mean, what kind of hero origin story is this? Everybody's sleeping all day. He does some smoke and goes to sleep. Big incantation, flight to safety. He's always running off, and they just drag him up, dead asleep. He can't wake himself up. It happens like 9 times with this guy. I'm like, what kind of great wizard is this? Kind of silly. Um, bu- 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 Ogion. I think this is how you say it. Ogion. I like this for a wizard's name. He's the mysterious wizard who shows up, gives Ged his name. He whispers it in his ear, so only two people know his name: him and the wizard who gave him his name. And he takes him. He's like, you can come with me. And for a bit there, we're getting our, hermit sage level training montage. I'm liking it. You sleeping out in the woods, you're counting leaves, this kind of thing. You're trying to learn the names of roots. You asking questions, and he's giving you this kind of riddle-like answer. I like this stuff. We're just getting into the mage training. When almost out of the blue, Ogion's like, yeah, I'm going to give you an option which you're kind of young for, but I'm going to give you the option anyway. You can stay here and train with me or go to Mage University. Right? Essentially. Your boy picks Mage University, and so I'm like, well, we just started, and now I'm going to this other spot. I'm a little disappointed in that, but that's a personal thing, right? I guess you could read that and be fine. It doesn't break any of its own sort of rules. So that's not too much of a problem. I was just a little disappointed. I like a sage style training montage, right? I think it's a little funner than a structured situation. But it doesn't sort of, again, we go to the mage school, the wizard school, and they sort of teach them the way the guy was teaching them. So I'm like, we could have just let them stay over there, right? Essentially, and got the same out of it with this tie to this person a little stronger. Any case. Um, yeah, at university, I like saying uni. At uni, he does the same kind of training where one of them's like, you go to some guy and you don't talk all day. He just makes you memorize lists of names and you repeat them to him, and the next day you get another list longer, or you stay up till that one's done. And so it's no talking and just trying to memorize, thousands of names. And so I'm like, that's not much different than the other guy. I could have learned that in the woods over here. I think I'd have had more fun. We get to university, and for really no real reason, he ends up just immediately jealous of a guy named Jasper. I'm like, I think Jasper's a kind of a funny name. I guess it works, but it doesn't feel right to me, just on its face. But the jealousy doesn't feel right at all. At all. I mean, he just does not like Jasper. And he pokes at him, and of course Jasper pokes back because you're poking at me. Years go by, and they get good in training. Jasper's older, but your boy Ged's got the natural talent, right? And at some point, it escalates up to, we're going to try some serious stuff. I'm going to shut Jasper up once and for all. So he goes and tries to, summon a dead lady. Why necromancy's your first go-to? I don't know. In any case, that's what he does. I think he half summons her. But then an evil, faceless thing comes out of the void and it just starts ripping his face apart, right? It starts jacking him up. I'm like, this took a turn. Your arch wizard shows up and saves him. I guess they close the rift. Another wizard's going up to make sure the boundary stays secure because no one knows what this faceless thing is. There's no name for it. And it was so bad that the arch wizard died. Right? And I'm like, it's kind of a weak arch wizard if a student can concoct that kind of thing. It's kind of a dumb wizard if he didn't know the student was going to try and concoct some dumb stuff. I mean, aren't you perceptive in any way? They run out there because they sense, right? I'm like, well, you didn't sense it in time? There's not 5 of you to a channel? Power levels are off, right? You got to remember he's a student or he's not a student. He's the great one or he's not the great one. You got to stay consistent. In any case, after this thing almost kills him, what do you know? He's asleep for a week. He gets all atrophied. He wakes up and he's just like, now I get a near-death experience can change one's mental outcome. But that change, the math of that change, doesn't come out of the ether, right? It's not born of itself. The math of who you are compiles in a near-death experience. For once the equation solved, the outcome is the compiling of who you are as that person up to that time, right? Now, somebody can seem bold and big, near-death experience, and they shrink. Well, maybe that was a facade. Maybe they weren't like that. You can seem timid, near-death experience, and now you blossom because I figured out I was wasting my time, this kind of thing, right? But there's something in the person that gets there. Now, when it's a person, it's just a person. I don't know inside other people's minds, so I can't say one way or the other. But it's a book, and you've told me things about him inside. Those things have to add up to the outcome. So what do we have? We have someone independent. He roams around at like 5 in the woods. He won't really listen to anybody. Hyper talented, right? A winner. Picks up any spell he wants at some point as a child, right? Here, let me see if I wrote it down. Bugger. I wrote it down somewhere and I don't remember. In any case, it goes something to the effect of the witch lady tried to get a spell on him. He felt it and just sort of laughed it off. He laughed off a heavy magic spell. Now, she didn't try anything after that because she's like, he's something else. I can't deal with this, right? Talent. Confidence. Unafraid. Go get it. At one point, he's berated by his father in the fog attack. He takes a blow. He's wronged, but stays stout and resolute. Right? But then we've added jealousy to that mix. He gets to the school. He's instantly jealous. When you add jealousy with overconfidence and skill, it's a near-death experience, but 2, I think the failure of it would override with the type of person who's jealous. Because he wasn't doing it to show it to himself if he could. He was doing it to show off to Jasper. Right? The jealous part is the part that makes the aftermath, I feel, inconsistent in a way. Because afterwards, he's just a broken shell of himself. He's real down. He doesn't want to do anything. He's introverted. He's shy. He's got these horrible scars. Right? And I'm like, what is it? What did Yoda say? Fear leads to anger. He went from overconfident to afraid of this monster and just runs, scared. He's just afraid. I'm like, that doesn't account for the jealousy. That doesn't account for the talent. A talented, and then you build off that way. Well, I don't think he would have been afraid. I think he would have been concerned. I think he would have, if he's so jealous of Jasper, he should be ashamed of the failure. Because he doesn't take it. Failure's not a problem to someone who wins all the time. They just see it as an eventuality. I'm eventually going to win. So it doesn't matter how many times I lose. I'll win anyway. Right? If it's a 7-game series, I just got to win the last one. If it's a 90-minute game and you've lost for 80 of it, well, I got 10 minutes to win. Stay confident. You see? All right. Hold on. I think it's sort of reversed. I think he, in the way it's written, should have been Jasper. And Jasper should have been him, where Jasper doesn't really care one way or the other. He's messing with him, but he's not really on I don't care about this kid. If he's better than me, what's the big deal? Doesn't affect my day. Right? I think he should have maintained those traits. Now, I guess you wanted a way to get this evil into the world or whatever. And I guess it's the way you chose. It's just inconsistent. It doesn't work. And it bugged me. It sort of ruins the book. With the jealousy matched with all of that, he would have blamed the teachers for not teaching him enough. He would have blamed you blame and you rage and then you become power hungry. I mean, that's a villain origin story if I've ever read one. In any case, he continues on. It's basically like he's held back a year. He eventually graduates old Wizard University, and they send him out. Send him out on his own to go do wizard stuff. You take like a job on an island, you try and help him. Fails. Not much. He's left alone. Eventually they come to him and they're like, we got a dragon problem. You got a dragon problem, but he's over here concerned with the shadow hunting him, right? So he's like, okay, I got to deal with these dragons, and y'all got to let me go because I got to get away from you or the shadow's going to kill everybody. I don't know its name. I can't control it. The dragon fight's really cool. At some point, he turns into a dragon. He kills like 3 or 4 of them. A giant one shows up. We got one of these sort of dialogue, evil banter between them. It's a lot of fun. It's loads of fun. Almost worth the price of admission. Loads of fun. I'm like, give me more of this mess. This is fun. I love dragons. Dragons work 100% in this book. He then moves on. He finds, he's like, he goes deep out into some islands. This is another thing that bugs me. We end up, okay, we just went through all this university. We spent days and a year and all 2 years learning names of stuff. And it doesn't take them much sailing to find spots that they don't know any of the names of anything. He's like, I don't know how these people talk. I don't know anything about their culture. I don't know. I've never been here. I'm like, I get that you've never been there. But didn't your wizard school teach you like all the islands that are known? And you would have to go way deep before you find a remote one that no one knows? Right? I get there could be a lot of islands, but what do wizards do all day? You just catalog stuff. Wizard school, if it's worth a pinch of fairy dust, would have taught him a lot better. So maybe he just went to a bad one. I don't know. It just sort of, when you get there, right? And then it like retcons what you just read, right? Because you're like, well, I had wizard school up here in my mind. Now I gotta bring it down some because they're like a junior college instead of a big Oxford. Sort of sucks. He ends up finding like a mysterious castle. You know it's mysterious to begin with. And in it there's like a stone from the beginning of the world or some mess. And it has all this deep knowledge, but he's wary of it because I'm like, it's going to want something for that knowledge. It gets kind of crazy. He almost dies there too. That part's very fun though as well. He turns into a hawk, gets away, and ends up at his friend's house, Vetch. Vetch's friend from uni. Again, by this time I'm annoyed. It's not that long of a book, but even now I'm annoyed. Like, why do you keep running, bro? I thought you're supposed to be the greatest wizard ever. Again, if it weren't in the book, I wouldn't have held him to greatest wizard ever standard. But I am, because it is. He gets to his boy Vetch's house. And Vetch tells him his actual name. I'm like, that's cool. That shows how much, this is how close we are. I'll tell you my real name. Vetch tells Ged. And then Ged tells Vetch. So they know each other's names. They can have this power over each other. But then Ged is like using it casual as all get out. Like, bro, other people might hear. You got to be a little more quiet with that mess. It doesn't become a problem. I just noticed it. I'm like, bro, you can't keep spouting off this man's name. Eventually he decides to stop running to, attack his own evil thing. And then it starts running from him, which, again, is kind of funny. And the end battle works. The end battle, even with the errors in the book, You have a sense of strong lore. And the end battle does, I think, wrap up things very well. As an intro, would I like this? Would this make me more interested in more of these books? I'm like, not really. Again, if I was desperate, I'm really feeling fantasy right now. I want a wizard doing some wizard something. I guess I could find an Earthsea book and give it a go. I wouldn't be afraid of it. But I wouldn't go in thinking it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. Because sliced bread it is not. Alright. It's a short book, so it's a short video. Sorry about that. I will do an ad break. These are my books. Go buy them. With money. You know what? Honestly, I think they're also available on Kindle Unlimited. No, this isn't a Kindle Unlimited ad. But I will gladly take Amazon's money if they want to give me an ad slot. Oh well. I think my books are good. So if you interested, I guess if the other Earthsea books are better, you can tell me down in the comments. I want to thank all of you for watching. I want to thank you double for watching this far in. All right, people. You all have a good one. I'll see you next week.